Yes, yes, there's Marco live as ever was on screen. You is live, Marco. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. He's live apparently on this little camera here. Yeah, not
Yeah,
on that one, but on this one.
yes, for whatever reason it went to that shot, which is not the shot I thought it was going to go to, but it did. We've also got Sav tonight. Sav, do you want to come and say hello?
Hello.
There she is.
Hello.
The effervescent loveliness and bountiful beautyliciousness that is the one and only Sav. How are you diddling, cock? All right.
I'm tired and not very effervescent or particularly lovely.
You're not very effervescent, are you not?
I'm not. I'm getting my fizz from a bottle tonight.
I see, I see. Now, for what I've upgraded the software that I use, and it's misbehaving itself. But an announcement for everybody, in case you did not know, tonight we are dual casting. Dual casting is what we are doing. We're actually going out on Periscope live at the same time as we're going out on YouTube. It's all about choice. So everybody's now got the choice of how they want to work. You can use Periscope, you can use YouTube. Periscope's actually a little bit faster than YouTube from what I can see, because it's on me, and on YouTube it's on the two things, so it's all good. And yes, so you can use it on your mobile. How does that make you feel, Marco?
Well, it's very good, Mr. I'm going to Mr. Kitson then, Mr. Dawn. Yes, I did see I did get the notification what you was periscoping, because I get it on my phone and my pad at the same time. But I ignored it because I was trying to get my PC to work.
I see. Well, Mars UK 1980's just turned in on Periscope and he said hello. So hello, Mars.
Hello.
Nice to see you, man. This is Lloyd Johnson on our YouTube channel, in our chat on our website, has said WTF is Periscope. Aha.
It's a big tube on a submarine that you can stick up and look like that.
And the other answer?
It's a streaming service. What you can stream usually on your phone, yeah, which we do a lot of. Well,
Yes.
you do a lot of.
Indeed, yes. Periscope is it's live. It's always live, but there's a new facility now that allows us to do this, to actually switch cameras and mess about and do stuff like that. And on Saturday, when we were messing around with OBS, we got 1,200 people watching live, which is quite good. So I thought, well, what the hell? We'll give it a go tonight. So we are. That's where we are. But if you're not aware of what we do on here, I'm just wondering whether to get Sav to tell everybody what we do on here. Could you tell everybody what we do on here, Sav?
We stare at cameras and talk a lot. That's what we do.
We occasionally say things what are interesting
Sometimes. Not very often, but sometimes.
and talk about these things.
Yeah, we normally talk about e-cigs.
Yes. John
No.
Summers has signed in on Periscope, and one of the reasons that we're doing this, one of the reasons that we're using Periscope, is because quite often people are out and about in places where they can't get and watch a YouTube thing because the bandwidth is so great. But on Periscope, it's a lot less needy, shall we say, and comes out and it's viewable on whatever mobile device you're using. Anyway, look, shall we get into this e-cig thing and talk about e-cigs and actually talk about e-cigs? Sav, you haven't been on screen for a million years, it seems, sometimes.
No.
And so how are things with you at the moment, vaping-wise? What are you vaping on? What strength juice are you doing? And what do you think, now that we are past the final notification date for the TPD?
Right, what am I vaping on? I'm vaping on that thing, I can't remember what it's called. Hell's Gate.
Hell's Gate.
Yeah, because I broke my other thing. A mixture of homemade juice and some juice that you gave me. It tastes like Rice Krispies. 3 milligram. And what do I think of the situation currently? I am. I want to say shocked, but I can really not shocked at the amount of people that I've either seen on the forums or on various social media have come directly saying, "What does this TPD stuff mean for me then?" And it's been quite frustrating.
Tell me about it. There's a fair few people have been getting the same sort of thing. Well, before we kind of go there, because there's been some stuff happening, obviously over the weekend and further on, and stuff like that. You say you're now on 3 milligram juice?
I am, yes. I am. It's been a strange vaping journey for me. I started on 11, moved up to 18, moved down to 6, and now down to 3. And it's not because I want to stop using nicotine. A lot of people have said that, oh, so when are you going to stop using nicotine altogether? My answer is I'm not. I like it. It makes me an acceptable human being most of the time. It's just because the devices got better, that's the level that suits me at this point in time.
Well, that you see, that's the thing, because I've been playing around myself and thinking about this. Now, you and I have been around for long enough to know how we respond to nicotine. And as you may know, I was down in Brummagem over the weekend at the NEC for Motorcycle Live, more of which are none. And on the way back, I decided to call in and see Mr. Kitson. There was some bits of papers I needed to sign, and I just wanted to see his new pup and his good lady, because she's way better looking than him. And actually, Dave's not with us tonight because he's feeling very poorly, and he wasn't all that well yesterday, to be honest, when I called in. But he's got no voice at the moment, so he sends his apologies to everybody that's watching and listening. And we were talking, and I mentioned to him, because I'd noticed it particularly over this last couple of weeks. I'm using either 6 or 3, depending whatever it is I can get hold of, and I'll be mixing some 9 up, to be honest. But with this new crop of stuff, the new crop of hardware, the likes of this TFV8, which I'm currently running at 95 watts, so it's an octo coil jobby, it's effectively doing 8 times 6 milligrams. There's 8 coils, so it's effectively doing 8 times 6 milligrams. So that's 48 milligrams direct to lung, and about half a litre of vapour at a time that's going in. And I was saying to him, you know, we gentlemen have a morning ritual, if you know what I mean. Yes, all chaps, we have a morning ritual. And during the course of the morning ritual, which many people might call a VOOP, I have noticed over the last couple of weeks I've been getting a buzz. You sit there, what are you laughing at? What are you laughing at? You sit there, you know, counting your toes as you do, and I'm just VOOPing as per normal. And I'm getting a definite tingle in the cranial region. And for those of you thinking in gutter, that's your head. I get the tingle, and I get a little tingle all over. I get a buzz. I never used to get that with fags, never mind anything else. And I have to admit, it's quite a nice start to the day. So are you experiencing anything similar, or are you not using octo coils, Sav?
I'm not using octo coils. I'm just using whatever coils go in the crown. The temperature control ones. I don't know how many coils is in them.
Well, what temperature are you running at?
220 degrees C.
What's that in English money?
No, it only has it in C.
See, I don't. When it comes down to weather, I know 23 is warm. When it gets above 30, I've lost interest.
I have no idea. Everyone's going, what temperature is that? I'm going, I just move the numbers till it tastes nice.
Well, that's that.
428 degrees Fahrenheit.
Good God, it's barely working at that, Mark. Oh.
I know, and the other one is at 275, but this works better at 220. Who knew?
It's amazing, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing. Now, I need to point this out for the people on YouTube. I'm trying to keep an eye on what's going on Periscope as well, because I did see that Brian Coe earlier on asked, can you chat on Periscope? And yes, you can. If you tap on Periscope, you can send hearts, and the more hearts the better, and you can type into it as well and send chat stuff up. So it doesn't just, I say somebody's putting hearts up now, so it doesn't just allow you to send hearts, it also allows you to chat on there. So it is, yes, you can do that, and we're going to try and keep an eye on everything that's going on. Now, I know Marco has been doing a Sav and reading chat for us. Marco, is there anything coming up thus far?
Yes and no. Brian Coe's asking about your ideology really here, or your workings out. He says, is it really 8 times 6? If you think about it, because I was thinking this as well, your juice is 6 milligram. So even if you're using 1 coil, it's 6 milligram. So if you're using 8 coils, it's 6 milligram.
Well,
is it not?
Well, yes, but if you consider that a coil is only capable of evaporating so much liquid in a given time, this is the science, right? For a given amount of power going through a coil, only a certain amount of e-liquid can be vaporized. Let's try and, I want to try and simplify this if I can. Right, let's just say that at 20 watts through a single coil, and it doesn't matter what the resistance of the coil is, because 20 watts is 20 watts, it will heat a given metal to a certain temperature. Once you put e-liquid on that, that cools the metal. So, and it cools it because the e-liquid evaporates and it turns into the vapor that we all breathe in. If you were to flood it and totally soak it and dip that coil down into the liquid, it would still evaporate the same amount, but it might cool off before. It's like a kettle boiling, right? If you've got 8 coils, then you can move 8 times the e-liquid through in the same time. So if you're using a single coil running at 20 watts and you take an inhalation, you will only get a finite amount of vapor. A finite quantity of the actual liquid will turn into vapor because that's the amount of power that's going in. That's how it works. If you've got 8 coils, you'll have 8 times that finite amount. So in effect, for the same time, the same length of draw, if you are capable of pulling all of the vapor off each of those coils, you will get 8 times the e-liquid evaporated during the same length of time, assuming that if each coil is running at 20 watts, that would be 160 watts. So this is effectively delivering up to 8 times as much nicotine into my lungs over the same amount of time as I would get from a single coil. So it is effectively up to 48 milligrams. That's the maths and the science behind it. Does that make any sense to you, Marco?
No. Simply because you've only got a finite strength in your tank. So you've only got 6 milligram. What I think you're getting is 6 times as much vapor, but still at the same strength.
No.
Can I jump
That's
in
what it sounds
second?
like to me. Yes, go on, sir.
Go on,
Can
sir.
that be me being a Mark being a me? That's confusing. John Summers has said, the vapor is more dense, therefore more nicotine content. It's probably not 48 milligram, but it's certainly much higher than 6.
Yes, I mean, the science is clear. It is absolutely clear. If you evaporate half a milliliter on a single coil, and it takes 20 watts to do that over a period of, let's say, 3 seconds, if you then evaporate 8 times that, that would be 4 milliliters over 2 seconds, and you would get that amount of vapor going down your neck. And 4 milliliters carries, how much would it carry? It would carry 12 milligrams of nicotine with it, whereas on the single coil, the half milliliter that you would get through would only carry 1.5 milligrams. It's somewhere between those. So it does actually deliver more nicotine to your lungs. That's the maths of it. Mars UK 1980 is saying he's not too sure about the maths. I will, during the course of the next week or 10 days, I'll blog this up and put the maths up. But it's about how much power is required to evaporate a certain amount of liquid during a certain amount of time. And the reason I can tell you this, and it's quite interesting, one of the pharmaceutical companies, I'm not going to mention any names, had been looking at producing e-cigs, and they did the maths on this. And Paul Robinson 804, also on Periscope, has said that's why he's satisfied with the 3 milligrams just as he was with the 18. And Nigel Rudd has said, and it's the temperature of the wire. So yes, what we're talking about is a much more efficient delivery of nicotine with the current crop of atomizers. The more coils you've got, the more liquid you can evaporate. But what they were looking at was a method of delivery of nicotine that didn't involve a wick. And this is actually something that's ongoing at the moment. They've called it a mesh, but it's not mesh like we used to know it, you know, with, what do you call the damn things? Genesis atomizers. This is it's a matrix. Super 7's talking on Periscope as well. We'll come back to that, Super 7, remind me. What this is a matrix of not coils, but straight line heating elements that are in a matrix, so they crisscross. Like a mesh, I suppose, like chicken wire. And the idea is that they're going to use a squirty thing, a bit like an inkjet printer, I suppose, that will squirt a known amount of liquid onto that mesh, onto that matrix. And because they can precisely calibrate how much heat, how much power is required to evaporate all of that and then stop, in other words, the time it'll take, they can calibrate precisely the dosage of nicotine from a known strength of, for want of a better word, e-liquid. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. And if you go back to your physics lessons when you were at school, you would know that, well, Marco, you know how a joule is defined, don't you?
Well, I didn't do physics at school. They wouldn't let me. But in terms of joules and calories, what they do is they take a specific amount of something and burn it, and it's the energy produced from that that gives you the either caloric value or the joule value. Well,
a joule is the amount of power that is required to increase 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree, I believe. Somebody, I'm certain, will look that up and correct me. But that's what it is. It's a measurement of the amount of power. So, you know, when we were getting all these mods that were calibrated in joules, that's kind of a first step to this whole, how do you make things go like that? How do you work out how much power is required? But yes, I mean, come on, let's put it out to chat. Blaze has just said, yes, effectively. I'm quite careful with my words. I am. Have you got many more comments coming through from there? Because there seems to be an awful lot.
No, there's a lot of sort of discussions about other people sort of using various coils and whether it's stronger or it just feels stronger, and they're sort of going back and forth. But the science is the science, and it's just sort of getting your head around that science bit. And you know, I've never been the best at getting my head around the science bit.
Yeah, it actually is quite difficult to understand, and I can see that there's been Liam has said it's a milliliter. To raise a milliliter of water by 1 degree centigrade, that is a joule, or to lift a kilogram by 1 meter. That's how it's measured. It's the amount of power that's required to do that. So what that basically means is if you've got a pint of gin and lemonade, which unfortunately I haven't, you would be able to evaporate it only as fast as you could get power into it. So the more power you can get into it, the more you can evaporate. And if you've got 8 coils, each working as effectively as a single coil, then you can, in the same amount of time, evaporate 8 times more e-liquid. And if you evaporate 8 times more e-liquid, or up to 8 times more, I should say, then you get up to 8 times more nicotine, because each milliliter or proportion thereof contains the same amount of nicotine. Does that make sense to you now, Marco?
Yes, kind of, Dave.
Well,
I'll keep an open mind on that one, and I'll investigate it further.
Well, let me try and do it another way, just to see whether you agree. Here I have a tank with 3 milligrams in. When I suck that tank with a mouth to lung, I'll take 50 millilitres of air. Not air, but 50 millilitres of aerosol with it. Here I have another tank, And if I was to do that mouth to lung, I would also take 50 millilitres. But because I go direct to lung, I can take the full 100 millilitres that each would produce in 2 seconds. So if that 50 millilitres represented a mil of liquid out of this one at 3 milligrams, that would be 3 milligrams of nicotine. And I got 3 milligrams of nicotine out of this one and sucked them both at the same time, how many milligrams of nicotine would I get?
I lost you there. I was watching chat. Well, look, I've got a dual coil on this, right, on this wind force, and I've got 9 milligram juice in there.
Yes.
So if I'm running 2 coils with 9 milligram juice, and I do the same as you, what will I get?
You will get a greater quantity of liquid, e-liquid, turned into the aerosol than you otherwise would have for the area of the coil.
It's nice.
But the point is, what were you using mouth to lung, juice-wise?
Well, a bit like Sav, I started on 12. I went up to 24. I dabbled at 24 or 18. And now I'm on 6 or 3. Or in this particular instance, 9, because I did the juice as 9. So nothing above 9 generally these days.
Okay. And right now, as you know, Lynn Dawkins has been doing a lot of research into this to find out what the level of compensatory puffing is for using a lower concentration of nicotine in your e-liquid. Yes?
Yes, carry on.
And what she's discovering is, if you take somebody that's been on 24 milligrams and put them on 12, guess what happens?
Go on, Dave, tell us all.
No, guess. What do you think would happen? If you took somebody off 24 and put them on 12, what would happen?
They would probably increase their vaping to compensate.
Do you say the same, Sav?
Logically speaking, that's what they should do.
Well, that's exactly what they're finding. That vapors compensate. Especially the newer vapor.
Back to that self-titration, though, doesn't it?
That's it, exactly. That's it, exactly. Your body is used to a certain level of nicotine on a daily basis. And it's used to you maintaining a certain level of nicotine. And this is especially valid for the new switcher. Somebody new to vaping. If they've been, I don't know if you can still get them, but if they've been on Capstan full strength, they'll have been hammering it, and give them 3 milligram on a mouth to lung and see what they say.
Yes. Capstan full strength untipped.
Yes. And Rob Tafey's just said in our vaportrails.tv chat, I'm going to put something up here actually. I've just had a thought for those people that might want to have a look at the other chat that we've got. e-cigs.live. It's there. e-cigs.live. If you want to go and get in with the big chat, if you're watching on Periscope, that's all you need to type in. Where was I? I've lost my thread. What was it he said? Titration, yes. So you keep that nicotine level at the same level, and if you're only getting 1/8 as much as you were out of the juice that you're using, then you'll use 8 times the juice that somebody who's got the proper concentration in would use. And there is definitely some chat going on now. So who's going to come in and tell me what are they saying, because I can't read it quick enough.
Well, they're talking about fags. What they used to smoke, or I'm not sure if Bernice used to smoke Woodbines, but she's put Woodbines. Lol. John used to smoke Park Drive, and another John was Players Weights.
Oh, I remember them.
Gary Dibley thinks I'm remote controlled. I don't know why. I went through all different types, Peter Stuyvesant, and I ended up in the end on Marlboro Red.
Well,
they were good.
Nigel Rudd's just asked as well, and this is another. It's a very, very good question. if your vapor is denser, do you absorb nicotine better, the same, or what? Is the nicotine absorption the same? That's the question he's asked rather, and that's a very good question, and it's what is being looked at. You know, it's what the researchers are actually looking at now. What they're trying to find out is whether or not these sub-ohmy type devices, these super duper, how many coils can you bang into a thing? They're trying to find out how effective they are at delivering nicotine and what effect that has on the user. So it's worthwhile looking at all of that. And if you around the M25 sort of area, get involved, get in touch with Lynn Dawkins and go and take part, even if it's just to satisfy your own curiosity. Because I've got to admit, it's something that I've been wondering about for an awful long time. I would like to know: should I be using octo coils or quad coils or sextuples or whatever if I'm a new vapor coming in, and because of the Tobacco Products Directive being subsumed into the tobacco and related products regulations in the UK, if I'm not going to be able to get the 48mg or 54mg, which I used to like to use, what's the best way of me doing what I would want to do if I was a new vapor? Have you got a view on this, Sav?
No. It's one of those things. I mean, me and my brother, I mix juice for both me and Steve. And I mean, as you know, I've been vaping for God knows how long. He started at the same time as me. He stopped because he couldn't make it work with his working life, and then went back to vaping. He's probably, I've got him, he's now on lung inhale rather than mouth to lung. And he's probably on about 1 to 2 milligrams a nic. And all he ever says to me when it's time to mix up the juice is, as long as there's a little bit of nicotine in there, I'm happy. Don't care what strength it is. If it makes me cough, it's too much. He doesn't care. But if a new vapor came up to me now and said, where do I start? What do I do? I wouldn't know how to answer that question anymore.
Do you know, you've brought something up there, because right, when I went down to Motorcycle Live, it's a bike show, it's all motorbikes, but there over near where the guys on the motocross bikes were doing backflips and front somersaults and turning sideways and not killing themselves, which was more of a surprise to me than most things, there was the Frontline boys, Jay and Lee, the people that run Vapor Expo with a stand. I periscoped it. And I picked up from them while I was there. They gave me this. It's called Lemon Bomb. And I picked it up while I was down there. And it's one of these, I want to run through this because we are going to see an awful lot of this, people. You get a 30ml bottle that has 20ml of flavour and glycerin in, and a 10ml shot bottle. And you empty the 10ml shot bottle into the 30ml bottle with the 20ml of juice in, and you shake it and leave it, shake it and leave it, shake it and leave it. Gentlemen, we all know how to do that. We stop the smirk.
What? It was the leaving it bit I was unsure.
Once you get past 16, you learn how to leave it alone.
What's the strength on that nicotine, Dave?
Well, given that this is a 3mg outfit, it's going to be 9. It's 9mg that's in the 10.
So you've got 10 mils of 9mg and 20 mils of pre-mixed flavouring.
Yes, that gives you 3 mils.
Yeah. Which gives you 30 mil of 3ml, yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to put 18mg in there, you'd get 6. That's how it works if it, on a 30ml one. So I mixed it up when I got back at whatever time it was, and let it stand. I shook it until my arm went numb, and then I put it down, as you do, and I left it for a few minutes, and I filled up. Get this, I even washed the tank.
Wow.
It's unheard of.
Did you clean the coil?
No, I put a new coil in.
Oh, okay.
Because, yeah, I would talk about that as well, because I've been thinking about what Matt said last week. Yeah, so I put a new coil in, got it all up, and it tastes of lemon cheesecake, which is what it's supposed to taste of. That lemon's there, the sweetness is there, the cheesecake is coming through. It's really, really nice, and I really, really like it. But I'm getting through it like there's no tomorrow because it's only 3 milligram. But I said to Jill, have a try because it tastes really nice. And she said, because she's mouth to lung on a dual coil, it's pointless because she doesn't know how to lung inhale. She just doesn't know how to lung inhale. And she's not particularly keen on trying to learn how to lung inhale. So yes, what are new people going to do to get the level of effectiveness or efficacy that the rest of us that can do this sub-ohm lung inhale, whatever you want to call it, what are we going to do for the new people? Because they're just not going to be able to get 36, and many people would need it.
Well, this is the whole point, isn't it? This is the point that we've been saying for donkey's ages, as you would say. It's the people who are currently smokers that are the real victims with this tobacco products directive. Those of us who have been vaping for quite some time and those of us who mouth to lung can get away with 6 and get away with 3. Some people still want 18 and above, and of course 18 is all you're going to be able to get because no one's going to do 20 because of the possibility of being slightly over or slightly under. So 18 is going to be the max available. So it's those people, the people who want to switch, they're the ones that are going to suffer, aren't they?
Well, yes, exactly right. And Neil Robinson's picked up on something as well, which I want to come to. So if you just remember his last post, just in case we go on. Leanna Lawless has said, I know how to lung inhale, but I don't want to. What about us? Exactly the same applies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Anything that was produced prior to the 21st of November can still be sold through until May. But I've been surfing about the place because I'm buying in 72 milligram in glycerin as fast as I possibly can. And one of the places, Darkstar for instance, is starting to run short. And of course they produce in the UK. And it may be that they didn't produce enough before the 21st to be able to satisfy the needs of people who have already begun on e-cigs. I'm just so annoyed about what's gonna happen for the new folks further down the road. I mean, Ash, bless their little cotton socks, reckoned that there would be around about 200 to 250,000 current vapors disadvantaged by the 20 milligram cut-off. What about the rest? The new people, the people that haven't yet taken it up and need that higher level of nicotine. Now, the question is, what can be done about that and what can we do about that? Sav, I'm going to let you dive into that one.
I mean, it's one of those things that you feel at times that you're banging your head against a brick wall because, I mean, you're saying the same things over and over and over again that you got to tell people, you've got to keep on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And you get to a point where you think, I'm not just banging my head against a brick wall when you have things like the other day where all these people that should have known already come saying, oh my God, what am I going to do? And you think, why? Why are you only acting now when it's too late? It's not as if this has been a secret. It's never been a secret. It's not just us that have been talking about this.
Well, it shouldn't have been just us that's been talking about it. I mean, I don't honestly think that anybody would point a finger at VTTV and say we haven't tried to keep on top of it and tell everybody what's going on.
No, definitely not.
But look, I mean, the question's being asked, and Neil Robinson said everybody's the real victim. If the low harm is in the vapour, we're being forced to put more of the vapour through our lungs by government. surely we should be encouraged to use less, that is to say higher nicotine. And earlier on it was referred back to these very low nicotine cigarettes. But Neil also asked the question, and this is quite interesting, if I didn't know it was 3, would I use more? Now, here's the point. When Mark will remember this, when we were down last at Vapor Expo, there was one of the outfits down there selling the crispy treat type stuff, and they had an apple one. What I didn't realise was the apple was 6, but the crispy treats one was 3. And it just hadn't occurred to me that they would be different. I thought I'd bought all 6. And
Caught me out as well, that.
yeah. Well, but did you realise when you were vaping it?
No, I saw on a box when I took it out.
So you did. You say I didn't look.
Yeah.
Because I never do. I don't read instructions. Why everything falls to bits in my hands usually. But I didn't realise. What I did realise was I was going through the Krispy Kreme one at a hell of a rate of knots, but I wasn't going through the Apple one anywhere near as fast. So no, I didn't know. And yes, I was vaping more of the 3 than I was the 6. And you know, you can test it out. I mean, if you've got a good friend or other half or whatever that is prepared to do the deed for you and scribble out what it is, they can give you a bottle of 3 and a bottle of 6 and let you go. As long as they know which one's which, they'll sharp tell you.
Well, I know from personal experience, I mix by eye. I don't measure anything out anymore. And if I've mixed a batch that's lower on the nick than it normally would be, it's never out my hand. I'm vaping like a trooper, and it's like, yeah, I need to add a bit more nick to this because I haven't put enough in. And vice versa. And I remember, you'll remember this as well, Dave, when Kat mixed up the bottle of menthol and forgot to put the nicotine in it.
Yes.
And she was just vaping flavouring. And I mean, bless her, she vaped it for 2 weeks solid. But it literally was solid. It was never out of her hand until she went, oh, I never put the nicotine in this.
Well, I well remember that couple of weeks because I came up and you couldn't see a hand in front of you in the front room.
No.
And and this is a girl, and I'll call her a girl because she'd clip as if I didn't even know. This is a lass that she didn't part with vapor very easily. I mean, if anybody ever saw Kat vape, it put stealth vaping to shame, but she was getting a bloody good lungful of 3 or 4 draws.
Yeah.
And then you would just see her sitting there, and then she'd start talking, nothing came out.
So I asked her about that, and her response was, I've paid for it, I'm not giving it away.
Exactly right. But I well remember when she did that, she was sucked.
Clouds of it.
She was like a burn at the breast. She just wouldn't stop sucking on it.
Yeah, it took her 2 weeks to cotton on that it was the fact she hadn't put any nicotine in it.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, you just compensate. And I mean, she was not a pleasant person to be around for those 2 weeks. Because I know if I'm on a low batch of what I've made, I'm lazy and I tend not to like to have to go and remix something. So I'll just vape more and vape more and vape more and vape more.
Yes.
I'm compensating for it.
There was an upside to that though, and this brings me back to the chap's routine on the morning. There was an upside to that fortnight. You didn't fart as much.
Also true. Also very, very true.
And if anybody out there thinks I'm being disingenuous, ask Linda Bald. Professor Linda Bald. Now, I'm not saying that Linda farts. That's not what I'm saying. But I mentioned the fact to Linda that I'd tried cutting me nick. I don't know why, but I tried cutting the nick down just as an experiment because I did these things to save other people having to do it. And I had discovered that the morning ritual was less than silken. I'm trying not to be nasty and rude here, but it really took a bit more effort. There was a touch more, what's the word I'm looking for? It wasn't a load of shite, let's put it like that. And she pointed out that much like bifidus actualum or whatever it's called that's in your yogurts, nicotine does maintain the digestive transit and speeds it up somewhat. So that, yes, if you sat on the morning having a Voop, you are helping yourself be regular. Just so you know, it's not just me. There's professors will tell you this as well. Have I gone too far, Sav?
You're about there.
Yeah. We probably better play some video in then, just to give people time. Oh, Chris Bailey said that Nick is a natural laxative.
That's a much nicer way of putting it.
What he's trying...
Licorice all sorts.
Well, licorice never ever worked like that for me. Nicotine, yes, yeah, but this explains something, doesn't it, about all these public health people that are now so worried about nicotine. It's obviously scaring the shit out of them.
Before we go on to a bit of VT, Dave, let me just come in with some stuff from chat. There's a lot of chatter about how long nicotine's going to keep for, and people who have bought large amounts and have got it in the freezer. And going back to the Dark Star Vapor, where I got my last lot from, they do mention on their website that they're taking a bit longer than usual due to high demand. But there is still some very good deals to be had, which I will be having after the show.
You and me both. I'm ordering 10 litres. Bugger it. Go on. Sorry.
I've currently got a litre in 4 250ml amber bottles. Now they are not in the freezer, but they're in my vaping tool chest, which is a big rolling tool chest that I don't use for that. I use for vaping. So they're in the dark and it's cool. Now there's various chat in there saying about how long it's going to last for in the freezer or out of the freezer, and it also depends on the temperature of the freezer, whether it's going to be -18, -40, or what have you. Notwithstanding that PG doesn't generally freeze solid, so it goes very viscous, which is why PG is found in antifreeze, as we know. But what will happen over a period of time is that the nicotine effectiveness will reduce slightly. And the only way you're going to be able to tell that is to do a nicotine test using the old Blumethiol blue and the nitric acid test, which I've shown on numerous occasions on these shows. Now, I've worked out as well, if you used 3 milligrams of your 3 out of the 60ml bottle that you got, if you had 2.6 mils of 72, that'll give you 6.01. So you could increase it by doing that, which is what I've done in the past. It's only a small amount of 72, and that'll give you the strength that you want. If you take a litre of 72 and you are going to be vaping at 6 milligram, that will make you, using 20% flavouring, 12 litres of juice. If you're going to use 3 milligram, that will give you 24 litres of juice.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is the point. Now, keeping wise, as Marco said, they normally reckon there's a 2-year, used to always be at any rate, a 2-year use by date, wasn't it, Marco?
Yeah, approximately 2 years, yeah, from the date of manufacture. Obviously, if you've got the bottle and you haven't opened it, then you haven't introduced more oxygen to that. So the degradation from oxidization is going to be less. If it was packaged and a little squirt of inert gas was put in first to cap the top, the distance between the level of the liquid and the top of the bottle, and then that would increase it even further, which is what they do with salads and most pre-packaged foods now. They inject nitrogen, which pushes out the oxygen and has a little layer of this gas, and that stops oxidization from happening too quickly. But normally, if it's just bottles and it's to the very top, you've got hardly any space there for oxygen. Unless you open the bottle, you're not going to introduce any more oxygen into it. And if you're using an amber glass bottle, that is not permeable, so you're not going to get any oxygen leaching in. You're also not going to get anything leaching out of the plastic into the nicotine. So amber glass is always the best way to go for keeping it, I think.
I would agree with you 100%. I'm going to be getting a whole load of litre amber glass bottles, and I've got already a little nitrogen injector jobby, which shouldn't be too much of a problem to mix a whole load of stuff up and then shove it in the fridge. And I would think that any given mix would last for getting on for 4 years before you'd start thinking, no, I'm not going to bother. So I reckon if I get 5 litres of 72 milligram, I'm probably good to go for the next 4 years, with given the 3 litres that I've already got in. So I get through about 2 litres of 72 a year. I've worked out. I go through a lot of juice, and I mean,
You do.
I go through an awful lot of juice, but then I always did. So yeah, while we can, we need to get our mitts, I think, on the 72. We're going to see an awful lot more of packages like this Frontline, where it's coming in as shots. So it's going to be fairly easy, I think, to buy the Zero and add your own nick to it, but only obviously if you've got the nick to add. As far as this one is concerned, the lemon bomb, I think I might well ask the lads if they've got a couple of litres of the flavour and I'll put my own nick in.
Just to interject there slightly, Dave.
Yep.
You will get some flavour degradation if you're buying Zero Nick and you're going to add nicotine to it. Obviously, it was made as Zero Nick, so the amount of flavouring was correct for that. So if you're only going to put in a couple of mils, then you should be fine. If you're going to increase the millilitres any more than a couple of mils, then you may well see a difference in the flavouring. Just putting that out there.
Well, there will be, but I'm, as Sav will attest, I'm not a big fan of super strong flavours. I never have been. I like the flavours just to be there. I don't really want to be subsumed and overwhelmed by the flavour of lemon cheesecake. With this, it's not like I'm lemon cheesecake. This is very much, hello big boy, I'm lemon cheesecake. And that's the way I like it, I like it delicate, subtle, gentle. I'm not one of these for big fat flavours completely taking over the whole of your mouth. It's I get that people are, but seriously, if the amount of flavour is dissipated by 25%, I'm not going to say that's horrible. I'll be quite happy with that, I think. Quite happy with that. Of course, the thing is, you need a tank to use flavours and juices in. And again, they've got to have been produced, that means imported or made, before the 21st of November. So they might be going to be getting into short supply as time goes by, which is one of the reasons that we sent our correspondent, Matt, to have a look at the Sherman tank, which is not, strangely enough, something that Trump's going to send into Ukraine.
Right then, I'm going to be looking at something that's got me fairly excited. I was at Vapor Expo, and whilst it was mostly juice there was a bit of hardware, and this, which is currently rattling around because there's stuff in there, the Asylum Mods Sherman tank. Now the reason I'm quite excited by it is you can see by the packaging, it's not a mass-produced mod tank. We're so used to now to say, oh, here's the latest one from Kango, here's the latest one from Nicotine, whatever, the latest Joytech. This is something that's a bit more grassroots, and it's been a long time since I've looked at something like that. I think the last thing was the Snapdragon from Eden Mods. So yeah, I'm quite excited to look at this one. So let's go down and have a little look at it, shall we? And then I'll come back. And a little bit of departure from the norm today. We are untubing something. So here we have the Asylum Mods logo thingamajig there, and the Sherman. Now I'm quite excited by this simply because it's the first time in a long while I've actually had something sort of more grassroots as opposed to a mass-produced tank. So let's dive in, shall we? So we remove the top of there, and it's days gone by. This is great. So we have here the tank. We have a foam insert there. We've got extra bits and bobs. So let's just get this all out, because there's something else in there as well. There we are. That is the entire contents of the tube. Let's just pop the tube to one side. So this is the Sherman, as you would expect to see it out of the box, or tube. Here is, it's poking through there. Here's a baggie with bits. So we got a screwdriver there. We got some replacement nuts, some screws, some O-rings, a couple of screws, a few O-rings, that sort of thing. We have an extension kit, which comes in the form of this piece here and this tank piece here. And we also have a plastic mouthpiece if you're not comfortable with using the metal one. Now, by way of a change, I've actually got my calipers out today. Hurrah! So make sure this is centered. Let's get some measurements because this is quite the beast. It's very weighty. These are plastic tanks, by the way. They're not glass, which might put some people off. So let's have a measurement of the diameter first. There we are, the measurement there. So as good as, let's just say 28 mil. Well, it's, yeah, so 27 point whatever. Let's just say 28 mil. Okay. Height in this configuration. We won't include the tip in this. In fact, let's take the tip off to make life a bit easier for me. Height is 38.65 mil. There we are, I don't know if you can see that. In the small configuration. Now, this configuration, believe it or not, is actually only 2 millilitres. It only holds 2 mil juice. Oh, on the bottom there, we have the Sherman, and we have a serial number. So I've got number 156. There we go. So let's just break this thing down before we start vaping it. We got here airflow control. Now there are 2 airflow ports, one each side. I'm just spinning stuff here. Hang on. Let's actually snug that down because that would be why that's doing it. But you got the choice of using the a slot there as opposed to I need a pointy device to illustrate. You've got the choice of using a slot or these 3 holes. Okay, so as you can see at the moment, these 3 holes line up with the intake holes there, and that is of course reflected on the other side. Or you could use this slot. There we are. And that lines up either side as well. You cannot have it, at least to the best of my knowledge, you cannot have it one side airflow closed. In fact, I'll just check that now. No, it's 2 airflows open all the time. I can only assume that the reason for these 3 holes on the airflow control ring is so you get more fine control of your airflow. Or you can just go gung-ho and have the slot and fully open, which is how I've been using it. I think I would prefer to see the actual inside piece here, a slot that matches up with the outside, and then use this to actually control the airflow. Because the problem you got, if you use the 3 rings, or the three holes, you get some tremendous whistling going on. So yeah, I think it would have been better if these holes, the airflow, get my words mixed up here, and if the air intake holes were a slot as opposed to 3 separate holes. So there's that. You have an adjustable 510 connector. I've not felt any need to adjust it because my mods are all spring-loaded centre pins, so it doesn't really matter. So to fill, you undo the top part here. Like so. There's quite a few threads on there, it turns out. And you fill down these ports here, so port one side and air out the other, yeah. While we're here, you've already seen it with the metal drip tip on. Let's just pop that on again. Give it a little twist. There we are. So that's how it looks with the metal drip tip. Or the plastic drip tip is quite fetching, I find. This is how I've been using it. There we are. That all blends in quite nicely, as you'll see. So yeah, to actually take the second section off, you have to undo this part here. Again, this is plastic. I can't see any reason why they couldn't have made this of glass, if I'm honest. There's no threads on here or anything. It's just a press fit. Let's have a quick look at the deck before I put it in extended mode, because that's how I'm going to be using it. This is the deck It is massive, absolutely massive. I'm just trying to find another deck in order for me to sort of give this a comparison. You know what, I can't. However, here is the atomizer from a TF-V8. This deck dwarfs it. It is really designed for dual core. I mean, just look at these airflow. This airflow here. It's obscene. This is where your cotton will go in here. Massive channels, and you've got these two almighty great nuts in order to hold down your wire. I would have preferred to see the velocity style deck, which is currently in vogue right now, just because it's just a damn sight easier to build on. You've got these ports here. As you can see, I'm sticking my screwdriver in. This is where the juice will feed in, and if I just pop the chimney section back on again, you can see massive ports there. I mean, if I can get a measurement of this, chance to be a fine thing, but let's have a go. Let's just try and get some sort of measurement of these ports. I don't know if I can get away of using that. Let's just say 3.5 mil per port. So very big. So in order to extend this, then you take the chimney section, take it off. This is also blessed with the Asylum Mods logo as well, as you can see. It kind of makes me think of Mickey Mouse of Skull and Crossbones. But yeah, so you take this part here off, put that to one side, and you get this part here. Now, for my money, this actually gives me better flavour because it will condense here. Yeah, it's kind of like a tagine. It puts you in mind of. So you pop that on there, pop this on here, get your longer tank section, and then screw down this part here. Is that actually central? That's better. Let's get that in there. Snug that right up, and then you pop your top on as well. I'm going to remove the drip tip again in a second, or mouthpiece in this case, which is probably more apt, simply because I want to get a nice measurement of this. Easier if I do it from the other side, actually. Hang on. Apologies for this. There we are. Right. Let's get that back on. So of course the diameter is going to remain the same, so we're only interested in the height. So 28mm diameter and height. We are reading there 47.52, so 47.5 millimeters. Quite big indeed. But I'm going to keep it in that size because in this configuration this holds, I believe it's 6 or 8 milliliters of liquid. Honestly, I can't remember. I've not actually measured it by filling it up with a syringe or anything like that, and damned if I can find anywhere on a website that tells me. But I think the guy said it's either 6 or 8 millimeters with the extension kit on. So yeah, let's get a coil on this, shall we? And I'm not going to subject you to watching me put a coil on it. I'm going to put a massive coil on this thing because I can. Yeah, so see you in a minute. Figured I'll show you this before I go ahead and smother it with e-liquid. This is it coiled up. These coils are stainless steel Clapton coils, 4mm inner diameter, and yeah, how much cotton is in there I couldn't say. A metric shitload, I would suggest. Right, I'm going to juice this up. You juice it up in the normal way, i.e. you glob the stuff on and then you put the chimney on. Right, okay, so I'm going to do that, and then we'll have a little chat about it. All right. Here we are. Then here's the Sherman on top of my Rilo RX 200, even though it does 250 with the firmware update, but 200 all the same. Currently I've got this at 60 watts. Yeah, okay. I think more power is required. $70. Yep. More. $81.5. That'll do. More. Let's go for 90. 90.9. Yeah, whatever. Still take more, I reckon. 100. 100. On the nose. You know, I reckon it can still take more. The scary thing is, it keeps up. Let's go 120. None of these 10 watt increments. Alright, and 130. Yeah, 130. Yeah, I'll do. Obscene. 152. $190. Just to prove I'm not lying. Not much flavour actually at 190, bizarrely. But it's not that hot either. I'll take the full 250. The full 250. Yeah. It's just spurting it out now. Not much flavour. I'm going to go back down to about 90, 80 or 90. Oh, I'm getting a bit of a nick rush, to be honest with you. It's only 3 milligram liquid as well. 80. There we go. So yeah, you can just see how much that's just drained. I mean, that was full, and that's probably around about 2 mil gone from it. I need to recover a little bit. Yeah. So, being is a 28mm tank, I don't have anything this fits on perfectly. So there's a slight overlap there. You can just about make out, possibly by about a millimetre, if that. But you know, it's fine. This tank does leak every now and again, depending on how you fill it. If you close off the air holes, it's a bit tricky, I know, but you can do it. Under the tank, the top section, pour your liquid in, leave around about 1/2 mil gap at the top, close it down but not fully, then turn it upside down, then finish it off. That should help you avoid any leakage. It's just something I've learned with usage, really. There are no destructions with this. It's a homebrew sort of thing. The capacity is kind of a letdown on this. Now, I've not even bothered to use it with the smaller tank configuration because I just don't see the point. Yes, it is 2 millilitres in the smaller capacity, which some circles is a good thing. and then you can get an extension kit on top, which takes you, as I said in the close-up section, I'm not sure if it's 6 or 8 mil, but yeah, whatever. The thing being, this just laughs at you. However much power you put in this, it will sit there and it just takes it. It goes, it's all you've got. I can take 250 watts, no problem. And it just keeps up. It doesn't ever dry wick. Flavour, yeah, as I've discovered, does bottom off once you get over 100 watts on this. Although I'm starting to feel 80 is a bit lacking now, so I'm going to take it to 90. It is an absolute cloud machine. Flavour wise, yeah, it's there, but I've had better. So it depends on what you want from your vape, really. For me, keep it the lower wattage and the flavour is good enough. It's not the best, but it's good enough. But if you just want to blow massive clouds, then just fill it with liquid and crank up the power, and away you go. You know, the thought occurs, I've not actually tried this in temperature mode yet. I'm going to put this in stainless steel mode. Wattage, temperature, SS. 470 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, let's start there. Yeah. Nah. 570. More. This is at 250 watts, by the way, in temperature control mode. Nah, it's better than straight power, I'm honest. Yeah, it really is. I could probably do other builds on this, but you know, this is a straight collapsing coil build. It works. Right, anyway, I think you've seen enough of me now. Well, for what you can see is left, because I'm surrounded by fog. Yeah, back to the guys in the studio. Ta-da.
And we're back with Marco on screen. There you are.
We're back. Hello.
That was the Sherman tank.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't know who makes it. Did he say? I can't remember. Sherman tank. That whole schema of starting with Tidgy tank and getting extra glass and bits of extenders to make proper tank. Going to see a lot more of that as time goes by, I suspect. Would you agree, young Marco, sir?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the way forward. Simply to be able to use a larger capacity once they're not available in anything above 2 mils. Yeah.
Yes. So everything we can do really to get the TPD regulations thrown out of TRPR, we need to be doing. Go and see your MP. Getting told. We're coming out of the EU, like it or not. We're coming out of the EU. Let's get shot of the regs as well, because they just don't work for anybody. They're wrong. Completely, totally, and utterly wrong. And people are picking stuff up the wrong way, don't you know? In fact, there has been a news story on the BBC today. You're going to read this out, Marco?
Yeah, let me just swap to the other browser. So, right, there we go. This was kindly posted in our VTTV Facebook page. And if you're on Facebook and you're not a member of our Facebook group, then find us and ask to join, and we'll add you. You can also look at VTTV as well. We've got 2 pages.
Before was that the group or the page?
Let me see. It's on the group. It's in the group.
Cool.
And it was put in by Aaron Dinsdale. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
So, Burnley. This is about a primary school in Burnley. Now, I'm going to look over here because that's where the actual monitor is. So, a primary school head teacher has warned parents that children found with e-cigarettes face being excluded. And in her letter, she says there's been a worrying increase in the number of pupils caught with the devices at Lower House Junior School in Burnley. And this is Principal Claire Holgate. In a letter to parents, she said it was incredibly concerning nicotine products had been found. And it goes on to say e-cigarettes put staff at risk, and alleges nicotine use has been linked to memory impairment, although I can't quite remember. It warns that pupils found with e-cigarettes will be dealt with in line with the school's behaviour policy, which could lead to exclusion. And in a statement to the BBC, Mrs. Holgate said a letter was sent to parents to reinforce the message about the possible dangers of e-cigarettes. We also wanted to make parents aware that we're doing what we can in school to discourage young people from smoking or vaping in any form by providing some age-appropriate education to all our pupils about the potential dangers. When asked why the school believed the nicotine use had been linked to memory impairment, it said Mrs. Holgate had taken her research from the American Lung Association's website. Now, the association states that nicotine use during adolescence and young adulthood has been associated with lasting cognitive and behavioural impairments, including effects on working memory and attention. However, the section of the study it cites actually says smoking, not nicotine use or vaping, has been linked with these negative outcomes. The school added that there have been no incidents at the school affecting staff. So there you go. What do you think of that?
Well,
bear in mind it's a primary school. This is a primary school.
I'm reading it as we go alongside you. I think we should fisk it line by line, don't you?
Go ahead.
So, yes, right. A primary school. Okay, primary school. That's kids up to the age 11. Now, I would imagine that the incidence of e-cig use in a primary school with kids up to the age 11 is going to be vanishingly small. I have the sneaking suspicion that Principal Claire Holgate is climbing onto a bandwagon at the behest of somebody, and if it's in Burnley, there's a fair idea who it might be. But let's go through it. Excluding a child, and I speak as an ex-teacher, excluding a child for using an e-cigarette, which may possibly be with their parents' permission, you've got to remember this, exclusion is completely disproportionate, and it's ridiculous. It is utterly ridiculous. Certainly if it's going to be on the first offence. 3 strikes maybe, but first offence, no. And this worrying increase in the number of pupils caught with the devices at Lower House Junior School in Burnley, I would love to have the actual figures. They don't seem to be reported by this letter. I was trying to read it to see how many kids had been caught, and no, it just says a worrying increase. There's no figures. So it might have gone from 0 to 1.
Or it might be none.
No, if it's been an increase, it's got to have risen. So it could have gone from 0 to 1.
Well, technically, yes, but also it could just well be that the principal doesn't like them, so she's not going to let them use them. But yeah, we are talking about a primary school. Let's not forget what the age of the children we're talking about.
Well, quite, but if there's been a worrying increase, it could have gone from 0 from 1 or from 1 to 2. That's enough to worry her, which concerns me. If she's going to get that worried, I'm not sure she's fit to be a head teacher. We'll come on to that in a bit. In a letter to parents, she said it was incredibly concerning that nicotine products had been found. Well, it might well be. The letter says e-cigarettes put staff at risk and alleges that nicotine use has been linked to memory impairment. Well, let's say this. We know for a certain fact that it's not going to put staff or anybody else that isn't the user at risk. The science is in on that, is it not, Marco?
It is, and it's interesting that she's taken the information from the American Lung Association rather than the Royal College of Physicians or Public Health England, to be honest.
Well, I do wonder about people in the UK that get their information on the anti-side of things from American outfits and fail to take into account what the UK outfits that actually I think have done a lot more work on this have got to say. It always worries me when a UK public health authority or authority of any description starts quoting American stuff, because it just doesn't seem right somehow. That's not me being a little Englander, by the way. It just doesn't seem right somehow. But in a statement to the BBC, Mrs. Holgate has said a letter's been sent, well, that's fine, to reinforce the message about the possible dangers of using e-cigarettes. Well, there's possible dangers in all kinds of things. I wonder, truly, whether she sends letters home about kids sledging down hills on a dustpan or a plastic bag from Sainsbury's. Do you reckon she will?
I don't know, but I used to do that.
We've all done that.
We used to use fertilizer bags filled with straw that we got from the farmer. Yes. Now, the interesting thing here that she doesn't mention that anyone caught with cigarettes will be excluded. And just as a side note, whenever I'm on my way somewhere during the week and it's turfing out time, or it's kids going to school or being turfed out, so either end of the day, the amount of children I see smoking in the bus shelters, just brazen, just smoking in the bus shelters. There's loads. I don't know if it's just Barnsley, but I see loads of kids. There's a big high school that has just been built about a year ago. They moved the high school, and they're right outside. They're not even down the road. They're right outside the school smoking. So, we all know that vaping is at least 95% safer than smoking. And are they going to then exclude any child that's been prescribed nicotine patches or nicotine gum, which is a nicotine-containing product, is it not?
Well, this keeps on coming up, doesn't it?
It's a kind of worms, isn't it?
Well, I always rail against drawing the comparison with NRT. I don't like people saying, well, like NRT. It worries me that we're going to medicinalise e-cigs by default by constantly making this comparison. But yes, it's valid. If they've been and seen their local quack and they've been smoking, and I started when I was 8, so they probably still do. If they've been to see the quack and the quack's decided to put them on NRT, what's the school's policy going to be then? In actual fact, I well remember, and I think Sav will probably remember, Rusty, at his school, there were kids that had been prescribed nicotine gum. And they'd gone out, as I recall, and put me right if I'm wrong here, they'd gone out into the playground and they'd shared the nicotine gum around. And they were apparently, popping 10 or 12 of these things in to get a good gobful and trying to blow bubbles and what have you with them, making it nicotine bubble gum. Am I remembering it right, Sav? Am I?
Yeah, it sounds familiar. And those kids taking loads of them to try to get a buzz off the nicotine and things, and just doing what kids do.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's utter craziness. It is utter craziness. I know a lot of people have this thing about kids and vaping. And I just wonder whether they've got the same thing about kids and coffee and caffeine. Given that nicotine is a mild stimulant of the same order as caffeine, I don't understand why they don't get as worried about caffeine as they do about nicotine. It just...
Yeah. I was going to say there, Dave, you can go into a corner shop and you can buy all the different caffeinated drinks that you like, whether it's Red Bull, whether it's Monster, whether it's the other brands that are out there. There's no age limit on those, is there? So you can drink 3 cans of Red Bull. And I remember about 3 years ago, there was a night worker who worked at Asda. And I think they drank something like 6 or 7 cans of Red Bull and ended up being taken to hospital because they were getting serious palpitations. There was also a young lady who worked at her father's coffee shop, and she had 8 or 9 espressos during the course of her shift because she was at college as well and working hard and all that kind of stuff. And she ended up having a negative result by ingesting all the caffeine. So,
that's breakfast.
Well, when I go to Starbucks, other coffee shops are of course available. My drink of choice is a 5-shot venti latte. I like my caffeine, But then, I'm not 11
No.
anymore.
I want to read out what Paul Wilson has written before we go any further. And hello, LT Row on Periscope. He said, there's a kid I used to pass regularly, about 11 or 12. He used to stand on the corner of the street, always with a fag in his mouth. A couple of months ago, he had an e-cig. I made a comment about it, and he said his mum had bought it for him. Good on his mum, I say. 2 thumbs up from me for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you call a proper mother. That's what you call a proper mother. And this whole underage thing passes me straight by. I think children of tender years probably do need to be held back from experimenting, but when they do start, I would much rather they went down to the local vape shop and came away with something decent that is not going to kill them. That's the bottom line. In exactly the same way as I would much rather they went to Costa or other coffee shops are available and had a properly made cup of coffee where everything's clean and tidy and all kind of that kind of stuff, so there's some level at least of control. Not like what has happened, because you can buy caffeine powder, which is pure.
Oh, yeah.
And I do know that there has been a death because somebody thought it was funny to eat a tablespoon of this stuff. It was a dare, and he took the dare, and he's now pushing the daisies up because he took the dare. It's never going to happen with nicotine. You don't vomit caffeine, but you do vomit with nicotine. It's just, and John, who's new to me, in our online chat, has said the reason they perpetuate the nicotine myth is so they can impose what they call a sin tax on it. And yes, we mentioned this last week, didn't we? And hello, Dan's Pace on Periscope. Welcome along. Thank you for joining us. Yes, we mentioned this last week, the taxing thing. And we've got to be fighting that, people. We're going to be back to Brussels, I think. We're going to be back to Brussels.
Have we turned the swear filter off, Sav?
I pick and choose. Depending on how I feel on the particular day.
Paul Wilson's retorted back at 2 right, Dave. I started smoking at 12. Now, I was kind of dabbling at 13, 14. I think I probably started properly when I was about 15. Kind of a late start, if you like, but
no pocket money.
But there you go. So it is the research from the American Lung Association. That's the thing. Let's talk about
that. As you know, over the last 6 years, since this whole sorry mess got started with the MHRA's MXL364, that was when I threw over what I was doing and put myself headfirst into doing the research and trying to work stuff up. Sav will remember it well. I try to follow the research as best I possibly can. Sometimes I get thrown it by friends. Other times, and I'm quite happy to admit to this, I act as a peer reviewer for 2 journals now. I've peer reviewed papers that have come out, and some I've recommended they be sent back and rewritten because basically they're biased, and some are on point. So I'm not coming from a totally naive perspective here, but the American Lung Association, let's be honest about this, is biased, and it's biased through ideology. What I can't understand is why a UK-based head teacher would look to a biased organisation like the ALA rather than look at what Public Health England, the Royal College of Physicians, the Royal College of General Practitioners, who are the latest to put out a statement, which will cause, I think, the BMA to reevaluate its position, and I understand that's going to happen early in 2017, and various other august bodies who have followed the evidence and can see exactly, if you like, what is going on with all of this, and are intelligent enough to be able to draw the correct conclusions. There are many things that people need to realise. One of which, and this is specifically for somebody with whom I've been having a conversation on Twitter, is the notion that if every adult person, and I think this means everybody over the age of 16, was to take up vaping in the format that Marco and myself and Sav are doing this evening, and no doubt a lot of people who are watching this broadcast, if every adult was to take it up, there would still be a public health dividend. That is to say that the number of deaths that are, and these are premature deaths, that are attributed to tobacco smoking would still be reduced by the same order, by 95% per annum. That is the state of the science as we know it at the moment. And that does make me wonder why anybody would care to look at the American people and go, well, actually, no, these doom bringers, these naysayers, these prophets of doom are the ones that are right, and our UK-based scientists are completely wrong. So what's your take, Sav?
Agreeing totally with everything you said, and I mean, reading through what they've put, I mean, when the teacher says that they want to educate the pupils about not just the bad points of vaping, but the bad points of smoking as well, and you think, well, fair enough, as long as you are educating them from credible, accurate sources, and not just cherry picking what you think sounds right. Because then you're not educating them, you're lying to them.
Well, yeah, I mean, that actually happened today, where this interlocutor on Twitter, and if you follow me on Twitter, you'll find it very easily because a whole load of people got involved. She was saying that 3% of vapers had never smoked, were never smokers. And this, apparently, according to her, this is a bad thing. One, that's an outdated figure, and I know where it came from, and the guy's initials are MM, small CK. Oh, bugger, it was Martin McKee. She's his best friend in the whole wide world. She's his tame journalist, in actual fact. But that was quite quickly debunked, and she was put right on that. But look. Let us not beat around the bush here. As the number of smokers dwindles inexorably, as it will, if vaping is promoted, and if the necessary research is done by vaping companies, to come up with devices and units that are more acceptable to smokers, in other words, as the market marches forward, as it should do and as it should be allowed to do, then no matter what you do, people will give it a try, and some people will like it and will continue with it, exactly as happened with smoking. At some point in time, it may even be, as it was in the 30s and 40s, the thing to do, and everybody might take it up. But even if they do, there will still be a public health dividend. The death toll that they attribute to smoking will still drop. And we've known that for years now. Ask Professor John Britton, ask Clive Bates, ask Linda Bald, ask anybody that knows what they're talking about, and they'll all tell you the same thing. Indeed, it has been noted that vaping reverses harm. It's not just harm reduction, it's harm reversal. And if it reverses harm, then it's very unlikely that it's going to do any harm, if you see what I'm saying. So it's not a problem. It isn't a problem. It's going to happen. We need to accept it's going to happen. Everybody needs to accept it's going to happen, and we need to just live with it. I mean, it's like these people saying, oh, there's been a worrying rise in people jumping out of aeroplanes with oversized umbrellas on their backs. So what?
Exactly.
So what? There's been
It's still bloody stupid.
well,
Their stupidity, their choice, isn't it?
Exactly. It's all about choice. Yeah.
I was going to say, Marco, I'm no more likely to jump out of an aeroplane than I am to put on a tutu, put on full face paint and go on X Factor and call myself whatever it is, G. Although somebody
gone
did.
now.
Yeah, well. No, but you know, I mean, you could get somebody saying, "Oh, there's been a very worrying increase in the number of people going down black runs on skis." Well, that's their choice. People decide what risk they want to take, what level of risk they are prepared to accept. And if people in public health don't like it, as Mars UK 1980 has just pointed out on Periscope, if people in public health don't like it, here's what I'm going to say to those people in public health. Tough shit, it's not your problem. Keep your bloody noses out of it. It's none of your business.
Yeah, if you don't want to do it, don't do it, but don't stop other people from doing it.
Well, exactly right. Exactly right. And you know, for my sins, we watched Deadpool the film.
It's awesome, love it.
Marvellous.
Brilliant.
At one point in that, towards the beginning thereof, after he has met with his young lady, it's very, very apparent that she has had it's a pseudo-medicinal operation. It's called a strapedectomy. And she is busily employing that in an area where the sun doesn't shine upon the chap who is to become Deadpool. And yeah, apparently some people, some chaps, enjoy that. I don't, but I don't want it banned.
Exactly. I'm very much a live and let live kind of person, and if you want to do something like throw yourself out of a plane, run up and down tall buildings without any form of safety net, great! I'll sit and watch on YouTube all day, but I ain't gonna do it.
Well,
But I'm not gonna stop you from doing it.
exactly, absolutely, bloody exactly. You know, I think we've got to accept that there are people who are going to do things that we don't want to do, that we don't like, that we might not even enjoy seeing. Well, that's fine. And a Super 7 VVC on Periscope has said, "It's my life, keep your nose out." Exactly.
Exactly.
Too bloody right. I will live my life the way I see fit. And if anybody in public health wants to change that, they are going to have to A, convince me, B, do it nicely, and C, buy me an exceedingly expensive dinner to explain their point of view to me. And when I say exceedingly expensive, the bottle of wine will be £3,000. So if you want to convince me, people in public health, you know what you need to do. What do you reckon, Marco?
Yes, and I'm not going to read what Neil Robinson said in chat. You're a naughty man, Neil Robinson.
Which one's that? Oh, the porn bans? Well, no, let's cover it. Why not? Look, there are certain things in the adult entertainment industry which are probably not good. And let's be right about that. There are certain things that are probably not good. But if they're produced in a country where that is legal, then that's none of my business. There are politicians that would like to go marching into those countries and get them to change their mind. Well, it's none of their business either. As far as I'm concerned, if consenting adults are doing something that they have consented to, and they have consented being filmed doing it, and there are other people that want to watch that, fine by me. I do not give a monkey's, because it's none of my business, nor is it anybody else's. Fact.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
And most of those ones that I want to ban it are secretly in a room with stocking stilettos, high heels, and a tangerine in their mouth.
And that's just the blokes.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the Conservatives.
No.
But there you go.
Have you got proof?
There's remember the story a few years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've got to be careful.
We do.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Yes.
I shall add that.
Allegedly.
Anyway, I can see by the clockage above me and the clockage to the left of me that we've had a full show.
We appear to have run out of time. And I'm not sure that we can carry on much longer on Periscope. And I know for a certain fact that when we do Facebook as well, because yes, this is one of the things we are looking at, we will be limited to an hour and a half. So we've got to be aware of that. But yes, it's been different, hasn't it? Doing Periscope tonight.
Has.
Mars UK 1980 has said, thanks all, it's been great. Paul Robinson 804 says, bye guys, great show. Hearts, please. Put hearts out. We need hearts. We need hearts.
Tap
More.
the screen. Tap the screen.
Tap the screen.
Keep
Tap
tapping the
tap
screen.
Tap the screen. Oh, God, no, I just look like Trump. Never mind. And there they go. The hearts are coming thick and fast. Thank you for that. I hope you've enjoyed it wherever you've been watching it. It is basically what we do. It's people chewing the fat. We'll bring you reviews and how-tos and stuff like that. For instance, at some point, Funked e-juice, the world's premier e-liquid, it says here. It's a sample pack. It's all 3%. Sorry, 0.3%. Damn. I'm going to be having a look at some of that and see how that goes. Just to forewarn you, there's all kinds of... What is it? Oh my God. There's 10 different juices in here. If there's any menthol, I'm not looking at them.
I love it.
I knew
Sorry,
you
I'm
would.
here.
Oh, there you are. All right. I'll have it. Said a blank screen.
I will. I'll have it.
Yes, well, why not? No problem. No problem. No problem. That'll be
I
fine.
haven't vape mental for ages.
Well, yes. I haven't vaped menthol since the last time somebody tricked me into it.
That was a knees meet, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Do you-
someone's get a knees meet at some point.
Do you know what
Yes.
that person's name was? That person's name was You Twat. That's what that person's name was. And that's me being polite. Because apparently I'm not supposed to say anything that rhymes with Jeremy Hunt.
No.
Or indeed Jeremy Hunt. Yes, never mind. Brian Coe has just knocked I don't know how many hearts into our chat. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that.
Bless.
And apparently Chris Bailey is proud of his little breast.
Oh.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying
Yeah.
anything. But chat will no doubt take his life, as they do with these things. So that's it. That brings the show to a close, people. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's say some bye-byes. Mark, while you're on screen, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye, people. Thanks for tuning in. See you. Well, we will. You will see us next week. We won't see you. In chat, we will. But, not on screen.
He's so clever. Sav,
Yes.
say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now you can say bye-bye because now you're on screen.
Yay. Bye.
So yes, there you go. The first dual cast onto both Periscope and also onto YouTube and on our own website. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. I hope we haven't kind of upskittled anybody that didn't deserve to be upskittled. If you've enjoyed yourself half as much as we have, we'll have enjoyed ourselves twice as much as you. I think that's the way it works. Tomorrow I shall continue my lessons on riding a motorbike so that I can get my full testing by the Harley for next year. So wish me luck and good weather. But until we see you next time, vape on, vape hard, and join. Don't let the bastards grind you down. That nearly came together well. See you next time, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.